Hi everybody, and welcome to my guide to the sales of premium high-tier aircraft and tanks currently in War Thunder. We start with the US, where you can find the F4S Phantom II right here. This aircraft is actually the best Phantom that's currently on sale, and this is due to having the best missiles out of the Phantoms currently on sale, the best radar, even if unfortunately it doesn't have any guided air-to-ground weaponry, so it can be a very powerful air-to-air aircraft for aerialistic battles. It can be a bombast to bomb bases in aerialistic battles, but it is a little bit less useful in ground realistic battles. Also in the US you find the A6E-TRAM. This aircraft, compared to F4S, it has some of the best missiles in the game, being 4 AIM-9L, but unfortunately it is quite slow, so it can be somewhat useful in air realistic battles, but it's actually much more useful in ground realistic battles thanks to its air-to-ground ammunitions. We then move to the tanks available to the American tech tree, where we find the M1A1 clickbait. This tank is actually based on the M1A1, and it is quite a good tank thanks to its very good firepower that has been recently buffed. It has okay mobility and quite good survivability. Survivability meaning that you can survive at least one shot. We move to Germany, where we have no aircraft currently being on sale at top tier, while instead we have a tank in the name of the Leopard 2A4. The Leopard 2A4, it's a very good tank. It has very good mobility, quite good firepower, and quite good protection. It's obviously not the best in the firepower department and not the best in the protection department, but with the mobility that it has, it's very easy to take advantageous spots and then relocate in order to avoid to be flanked. So this one, it's a very good tank. It's probably one of the best currently in sale, so if you want to go down the German tech tree, this one could be a good pick. We then move to the Russian tech tree, where we find in sale the Su-39. The Su-39, it's kind of in the same situation as the A6E, as the fact that it's a very situational aircraft. It's actually not really useful in the aerialistic battles, but it can be actually a very good CAS aircraft for realistic ground battles. If you have a ground lineup with around this BR, this one could be a very good CAS aircraft if you don't want to grind the whole tech tree to get a ground striker. In the tanks instead we have the T72AV Terms T. This tank, it's actually not as good as it once was, especially because we have some other premium vehicle around it in the Russian tech tree. It's actually, in my opinion, better. But still, if you want to go for this one being on sale, it has quite good firepower. It has okay armor. I mean, it can tank some shot sometimes, but unfortunately it has quite bad gun handling, having a slow turret traverse and quite bad aiming arc, and it has very bad reverse speed. So if you find yourself in some sticky situation, it's not as easy to get out of it. We move then to Great Britain, where we have no tanks currently in sale here between the top ones. We have something in the aircraft department, where we find the F4JUK Phantom II. In my opinion, this one, it's the worst F4 currently in sale. It has mediocre missiles, mediocre radar, and it doesn't have agile eagle slats, and also it has absolutely no guided air-to-ground armament, so it isn't as good in the air realistic battles, and it's not really useful in the ground realistic battles. In my opinion, you should wait for other aircraft to go on sale, or otherwise pick some other options, because this one might not be as good for you to research the tech tree. We move to Japan, and in Japan we can find basically almost the same aircraft for sale as in the F4EJ Phantom II ADTW. This one is basically just a reskinned F4EJ that can be found in the tech tree. This one also has quite bad missiles, quite bad radar, and also it doesn't have any air-to-ground guided ammunitions. It's just a little bit more maneuverable compared to the F4J found in the UK tech tree. So in the air realistic battles it's a little bit better, but it's not that great, and also it's not that useful in the ground realistic battles, so you need to think a little bit about it if it's good enough to grind the whole tech tree. Unfortunately there aren't many premiums available to Japan right now, so if you're really looking for a premium, this might be the only option. So if you want to pick it up, also it's better to do it right now. It's 50% off. In the tanks, we find the Type 60B Fuji. This one is actually very good because it's basically a Leopard 2A4, so you have all of the good stats from the German Leopard 2A4, except that you unfortunately are at a higher BR, so the armor it's not as good, but you still have quite potent firepower, and you actually have a 4-second reload thanks to an autoloader, so you have very good reload, so it can be a good pick. This one could be a good pick, probably even better than the Leopard 2A4. We then move to China, where in the tank department we find the ZTZ-96A prototype. This tank, it has some active protection system that are actually not that useful around this BR, because it doesn't protect against anything that you fight around this BR. But luckily you have quite a good lineup around it, so you have a good lineup, but unfortunately you have quite bad reverse speed, quite bad reload, but you have also okay mobility and okay protection. I'm not a great fan of this tank, but it can be a good pick if you want to go down the Chinese tech tree, especially now that it's 50% off. In the aircraft department, instead, we find the A5C currently on sale. Obviously, this aircraft is not as good as it was once it was added. It still has some very potent missiles around its BR. It has okay speed, but it suffers a lot in up tiers, so it's not as good as it once was, because it was dominating its BR. Right now it's not as good anymore. Also it has basically zero usefulness around in the ground realistic battles, because it has almost zero air-to-ground ammunitions. We move to Italy, where as aircraft we have on sale the F104S Starfighter in the Turkish Air Force. This aircraft, compared to when it was added, it suffers a lot, because around this BR it finds aircraft that are a lot faster, not a lot faster, but quite a bit faster than it. And the Starfighter, the only way to dictate the battle is to use your speed. Unfortunately, if you are not the fastest aircraft anymore, you lose the only good part of the the F-104. So I would basically suggest you not to get this aircraft because it has lost its own selling point. So probably if you want an aircraft that to research the Italian tech tree, I would probably tell you to get the AMX A1A because it has a lot better option for the ground realistic battles. So this could be a good cast aircraft for ground realistic battles for Italy, and it has two very good missiles for anti-aircraft duties. So you could use it both on air realistic battles and ground realistic battles, and it will be a lot more useful than the F-104S. In the ground tech tree, we find the Centauro Oman, the RGO. This one, it has some very good mobility, it has very good firepower, but unfortunately, obviously, beyond light tank, it has terrible armor. So I would highly suggest you to pick this one up if you like the fast and light tank type of gameplay. If you don't, if you prefer something with a little bit more armor, I would highly suggest you to skip it and pick up the OF40 MTCA. Yes, it doesn't have great armor, but it has a little bit more, and around its BR sometimes you can tank shot. So I would highly suggest you to get the Centauro RGO, but only if you like the light tank, very fast type of gameplay. So France doesn't have anything in sale right now, neither for the tanks nor for the aircrafts. We then move to Sweden. When in the aircraft we find the J35XS. This aircraft, it's a little bit better compared to when it was added, but unfortunately it has very little countermeasures, it has almost no ground strike options, and it has, yes, okay, missiles, but you need to be a very good pilot in dogfight to take the best of the missiles and the aircraft. If you're not that good at dogfighting, this one is actually not your aircraft, it's not good enough. So if you're a good dogfighter, you can pick it up. If you're not, I don't suggest it. If we move on the tanks, we find the Stridswagen 121B Christian II. This one, it's a modified Stridswagen 121 found in the tech tree. Obviously, it's being based on the Leopard 2A4. We can carry on the same thing that we said for the 2A4 in the German tech tree, so it's a very good tank. It has some modifications, but they are not major modifications, so I would suggest you to really pick it up if you want to go down the Swedish tech tree, because it's a very good tank. We move to Israel, where we find as tanks the Merkava 3. The Merkava 3, unfortunately, it's not really that good of a tank, because yes, you have good firepower, but unfortunately you have quite bad armor and protection overall. Also, you aren't that speedy, so you are not speedy enough to get to early sweet spot in the battle, and you are not good enough to tank shots, actually, because its BR, most of the shells will pass through the entire tank. So I would really suggest you to skip this one. Obviously, unfortunately, this one is basically the only premium tank for Israel at top tier. So if you really need one, you will be forced to pick it up, but I don't suggest it. As aircraft, there is nothing on sale right now for Israel, so there is nothing to talk about. So I really hope that you liked this guide on the aircrafts and tanks currently on sale. I really hope also to be a useful guide to make you decide which aircraft or tank to pick that can suit the best your playstyle and the way that you want to play the game. So if you like the video, please leave a like, comment and subscribe.